So intuition and sensing are two perceiving processes. That's how we make sense and collect information that we see in the outside world. It's like we have two different lenses. We see the same thing, the same object, but then we have two different lenses. People with a sensing function have a sensing lens, and intuition sense dominant person have an intuitive lens. So I put this picture of the two painting of the dog, so you can have a feel of what is abstract and what is concrete. So it's about, so intuition is perceive information in a more abstract manner, and sensing is the term for people who prefer to see things in a more concrete and realistic way. So abstract dominant people tend to look at meaning of things, metaphor, possibility, potential, vision, things that are more bigger picture, I would say, more, they're slightly scattered brain. While concrete people, they have stronger impression with their, like the name suggests, their senses, with taste, senses, fact, and what is trending, what is going on in the moment, in the society, in the immediate family or society. So they are more realistic, more grounded. So no matter what is your type or your preference, we need both in order to function properly in the world, of course. But then we use them at, we have different priority and different complexity, different advanced level of using this kind of information. For example, so I use this example of how someone would see a book in a bookshop as an illustration of how it's different. So I'm listing what they see in the order of importance and of what comes first. So an intuitive dominant person, my first notice what is the content of the book, what is it about, is it relevant to me, and then maybe they notice a bit of worn out, the book is a bit old, not worth buying because it have questionable quality. But a sensing person might, the first thing that strikes them is the book is so old and it's torn in different corners, and maybe they notice the color, the design is so off or so funny, and then the next thing they think about is, okay, what is the book about, or is it relevant to them? Of course everyone is different, but that is a extreme example of how our lenses will affect how we first see things and prioritize the information that come into our mind. And of course we look at the world in matter of fraction of seconds. We take in so much information. Not everyone has the same like several minutes to look at one book and think about a book. So that's why these small differences will add up to be very big differences in how we view our life, how we make sense of the world, because we rely on these lenses so often. So maybe later you can try to think of other example of and notice how you and your sensing or friend might see it differently. Try to zone in a particular topic or the particular things, events, and then you will notice the difference of how people think. We call intuition and sensing. So in the population survey have shown that sensing is a dominant people in the society. About up to 75% of the population are sensing dominant. Or abstract thinker are the minority, about 25%. So there's this interesting question of, so what is the evolutionary purpose of this way of thinking? If humans are so advanced, why don't we all 100% become abstract thinker? Right. And of course the opposite is, I talked sensing is more toward, sensor is more toward the less developed, species. And I think this is and I think that first is that humans have way higher capacity for abstract thinking, because we have languages, we can make sense of time, we have writing, we have technology. So of course our abstract thinking capacity is way more than animals. But there's a need in the society for sensing people, and so it's a spectrum, and sensing people I think are important. Sensing dominance is important to help maintain the society, because for example, let's say Einstein, he come up with the theory of E equal mc square. That is a very intuitive, very abstract thinking, but that kind of theory is not going to fit us. It's not going to apply or benefit society. If everyone just spend all their time coming up with theory, there will not be society. We will need people who are more sensing, who further concretize and apply abstract thinking into things that are relevant, things that are immediately usable. So from E equal mc square, you have tests, you have hypotheses, you build rockets, you build atomic bombs, you build things. But who builds the actual, what kind of metal you build the rocket with, what kind of color it is? You need someone who is more sensing to actually carry out the task. So I think my biggest explanation for this intuitive sensing is that it's helped the society function, and we have a nice, after millions of years, we have a nice balance of more intuitive versus more sensing thinkers in the society, and yeah, as a community we support that proportion. Previously we have the perceiving function of intuition and sensing. That's how the lens we see the world. But how we judge, how we decide, that is a domain of thinking and feeling, or judging functions. It is not the same as emotions. Everyone has emotions, but just how they come up, how they arrive at a particular emotions is different. So thinking is more of objective decision making. It's about logical, quantifiable results, deduction reasoning, logical principles. Feeling is more cooperative, more relational. It's about personal values, moral principle, social harmony, how other people feel, how a particular event, how a particular thing affects themselves or other people. So it's a very visceral kind of reaction. And of course, same as intuition and sensing, we use both of them for decision making, but we give different weight and we have different level of development for thinking and feeling. So for example, I put an example here. For example, if someone choose a teaching job or as a teacher, how do they arrive at that conclusion? Why do they choose the job? So a feeling dominant person and a thinking person might have different reasons. So I list here the reason in the decreasing order of importance, and what comes first to their mind, what give more weight. So a feeling dominant teachers justify they go into their job because the most important thing is because they think it's a very noble job. It's a job that helps them impart knowledge to help the next generation to reach their full potential. And they think that knowledge helps to give better return in the long run. Like teaching a person how to fish is better for them than giving them a fish. Then the last thing is more logical. I major in education. That's why it's a logical thing to do. So I think as a thinking person have slightly reverse, I would say, in this example. Maybe they are less so, they are more like a sensing person, and they say, okay, I do a job here because I major in education. So that is a logical thing to do. And the work-life balance is pretty reasonable, and I have good career progression, so I take it. It's just a logical thing. And of course, the work is meaningful. Teaching, helping people, helping kids are very meaningful. I like it. So as you can see from here, I think you can take a minute to think about which of these reasons are more feeling and which of these reasons are more thinking. Okay, let's say for example, knowledge help give people better return in the long term. That one is more, I would say, it's more of a thinking, a more logical reasons. You know, the math is that compounded interest knowledge is better than getting result immediately. Yep, so that feeling person still use some form of logic here, but it in slightly lower weightage, slightly come later. While for a thinking person, they just choose the most obviously logical thing to do. Of course, these are just extreme examples. People make complex decisions and they change their mind all the time, but that you get the ideas.